We'll call the October 17, 2016 session of the Limestone County Commission meeting to order. Is there any public comment other than Kelly?
I do not have any.
Kelly, yours should be fairly brief this morning.
How y'all this morning?
Good, how are you?
Good. Just come to give an update on the courthouse. The third floor, we're in the final cleaning stages of that, and we got some miscellaneous door hardware going on up there, a little bit of just punch out. We're starting to go through and check items and getting the contractor to come back and fix things, but third floor is basically done. Second floor, we're still working on some door hardware. We're doing some touch up on the paint and the trim. Just from where the carpet was installed, we've got to, they scratched the walls up a little bit, and some of the trim, that's just normal for carpet installation, but we're going back and touching all that up. And we'll start final cleaning on the second floor this week. We've already done a little bit, but we'll start really getting the cleaning going on the second floor this week. First floor, we got the lobby tile going down. That should finish up in the next couple of days. We're painting walls. We're cleaning and sealing the stain trim on that floor, and a lot of door hardware is going up. After this week, we should start some of the final cleaning on the first floor.
That tile, if y'all haven't looked at it, you need to look at it on the bottom floor. It's like, what, 2 foot square?
Yeah,
probably?
it's 2 foot squares.
It's a milky white color, and you can't believe how bright it makes that downstairs, because before, it's always been so dark in there when you go in, and with that drop ceiling, it's white, and then that milky white floor, it's like daylight and dark in there.
Yeah,
It just really did.
It's a marble finish that matches the steps that go on.
It's really nice.
Miscellaneous items, we're still working on finishing up the data wiring. We've still got audio visual wiring and the devices to put in, but that's usually always the last thing goes in. We're troubleshooting the heating and cooling system now. That's a normal process as part of the project. We're troubleshooting the lighting sensors. We're having some difficulties with those. They keep going bad on us before we can even get out of that room. So they've already replaced about 10. Looks like we've got several more to replace. I rode by last night to see what lights are still on, and we've still got some lights that are burning all night. So I've made a list of those, and the electrician will start on those tomorrow to get those replaced. We still like getting all the workings of the gable clocks. We'll get that started in the next week or so. We've got all the equipment. We just haven't put it all back together up there. We sent those off and had them rebuilt. So we've got them back. We just haven't put them in there.
I understand you have some volunteers to remove the bell.
Yes.
You're going to undertake that this week?
This week. We will be dropping the bell.
Will the gable clocks be synchronized?
Yes.
Okay. To the satellite?
Yes.
Okay.
That was one of the change orders a few months ago we had, that to buy the piece of equipment to sync all the clocks together.
So the bell's coming down.
Coming down. And
I knew you could do it, Kelly.
Anybody would like to volunteer and help us out, I'll let you know. Other items, we've got the exterior lighting has been ordered. We should have the pole lights within just a week or so. The other lights is several weeks out. We're probably looking at about 4 weeks on the other lights. That's the wall wash lights. We're setting up the phone lines today. Hopefully we'll get that straightened out and taken care of today as far as the monitoring and of the phone system for the fire alarm and the elevator. Once we get that set up, then we can call for the inspections on the elevator and get the fire alarm certified. That should happen in the next couple of weeks. And the lighting for the courtroom, for Judge Baker's courtroom, the cleanup lighting, what we're calling it, those fixtures are off the shelf, so we'll start putting those in the next week. But the other lighting is about 4 weeks out.
Okay. What that, we had talked about it, left it out before till we see when he got it done, those fixtures that were in there, it's just so dark. So we're putting a similar fixture in that'll be LED lighting. And even then, these little strips, there'll be 9 of these strip feet that'll go up and mount on the ceiling, and they're, what, 2 inches
2
wide?
inches wide.
How long? 8?
8 foot long.
8 foot long, and they'll mount, like I said, we just bought them off the shelf, and they'll just mount up against the ceiling. They're white and against that white ceiling for additional lighting should we need it, but
Yeah.
it's not expensive at all.
No, not at all.
So, thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Robert, you have anything to add? Thank you. Pamela, would you call roll, please?
Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Turner.
Here.
Commissioner Black.
Here.
Commissioner Harrison.
Here.
All present. Commissioner Black, would you lead us in our pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I think Ben did a little better last time you were absent.
Did he?
Yeah, he did a really good
I
job.
wouldn't want to take that away from you.
Don't even think about it.
All right, this time I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes from October 3rd and 12th, 2016. Do I hear such a motion?
I'll make the motion.
A motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to approved claims. I'll ask for a motion to approve claims in the amount of $2,751,634.25 as presented to the commission. Do I hear such motion?
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Under resolutions and orders, I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution in support of proposed constitutional amendment 14. Do I hear such motion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Harrison. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion?
I've noticed that on the ACCA website that almost all the counties, I guess all 67 will end up doing it, but they're all doing this. It's already been done by a lot of them.
Was
so-
a unanimous vote through the legislature to put it
Yeah.
on. I mean,
Yeah.
it's extremely important
So-
for,
There's about 1,000 local legislative acts that would be in jeopardy if we don't do this.
right,
So,
so,
and this only corrects back to 1984. I mean, they'll still have to address going forward, but this only addresses those since 1984.
all right. If there's no more discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item, I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution in support of proposed constitutional amendments 3 and 4. Do I hear such motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Discussion?
Yeah, this one we need to discuss a little bit about. I did a little research over the weekend, and I want to pass down to you this ballot statement for Amendment 4. I have no problem with Amendment 3, but I do have a problem with Amendment 4. And just pass those on down, or take one for yourself. This is on the Secretary of State's website, and this is the fair ballot statement, plain English type statement. And I'll direct your attention to the two paragraphs at the middle of the page that I highlighted them for you. It said in 2005, the legislature adopted the Alabama Limited Self-Governance Act, which allows counties to adopt laws that address controlling weeds, junkyards, litter and rubbish, noise, pollution, unsanitary sewage, and animal control without having to ask permission for the legislature. And that was the purpose of that legislation, and to circumvent having to go to the legislature every time we do anything. The laws are only effected in unincorporated areas of the county and can only be enforced if approved by the majority of the voters in the affected area. And since 2005, 19 counties have utilized the provision of the law. So we can circumvent the legislature as long as we have the majority of the voters. It goes to the voters, and we have the majority of the voters. Now, what this amendment does, and this is a problem that I have with it, is that second paragraph that I highlighted. It's an Amendment 4 would give counties essentially the same authority granted through the Alabama Limited Self-Governance Act without the need for seeking approval from the majority of the voters in the affected area, okay? Under Amendment 4, counties could pass and enforce these laws by a vote of the county commission, and it would bypass the voters. And that's the problem I have with Amendment 4. So, we can already do these things. All these 5 things that they listed, we can already do these things as long as we have the voter approval. But if we pass Amendment 4, all it takes is 3 of us guys to pass something, all these things that they list there, and we bypass the approval of the voters. And that's the problem I have with Amendment 4. So I would recommend that we go ahead and deny this resolution and then resubmit this resolution striking the language for Amendment 4. So that's my recommendation. What y'all's...
The one thing that I know that I've talked to some of the county commissioners who allowed their people to vote, and they voted it in, the limited self-government. Mm-hmm. On this one, the way I looked at it was where it says enforce these laws by vote of the county commission. I looked at it more as the animal control, like we can go out and enforce the animal control if there's a leash law in the city. We don't necessarily have to have a leash law, but we can have a vicious dog. We can put it in where you can't have a dog run around that may be considered a vicious dog. And then the other thing was similar to what you had done on Sledge Road.
Yeah,
where we can go in there and do that. So I didn't see Amendment 4 as being the self-government, because I'd be against it too, where we would be able to make that judgment. But I see it as only being that we can make some of these decisions, like the weed issue that you had where the tornado went down and all of that.
Where we wound up with it.
I think we've already got, the way I read it, and Mark may be able to tell us different, the way I read it, we've already got those powers that be. We just can't create a new law. Is that not what you see it as?
Well, see, I would think it would open it up. Look at that first paragraph I highlighted.
Where was this out of, Brent?
That's on Secretary of State's website, okay, and that the commission that kind of puts out the ballot statements and
Right.
kind of explains it. They went through that. You know how that used to be, the amendments were hard to understand. You would think you'd be voting against something, and there was double negatives.
Right.
in it.
Yeah.
And so they did this commission, and this is what that commission came out with. So if you look at that, I would think that would open it up. Laws addressing controlling weeds, junkyards, litter, and rubbish, noise. We don't have a noise ordinance out in the county.
No, because the noise ordinance could be a cow.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a loud radio in a car or whatever. It can be a whatever noise.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, how about we go ahead how do I read the word this? Probably we need to split these 2 up.
Yes, that's what I would recommend
And
we
then-
do.
Since we have a
Forgot about-
motion and a second to approve them both together, I would just assume if
Well,
that's,
it's not, the vote of the commission today doesn't have any impact.
Any impact, yeah.
right.
On the legislative act that's already carried through, or it's being on the ballot. It's just your
Recommendation.
pledging
Support.
public
Support.
support of
But-
them.
What I was saying, procedurally, I've got to vote. If it was theoretically voted down when I call for the vote here in a second, then I could entertain another motion to pass Amendment 3 and
Right.
then 4.
Yeah, I'm all for Amendment 3.
ACCA is who distributed these draft resolutions. So again, it's I don't think it's anything that has to be necessarily passed in this form. So if if this is on the table for action, I guess what's been talked about one way is if this resolution is simply denied, then it's just denied, and then somebody wanted to take up separately support of Amendment 3 and then separately support of Amendment 4, that could be reflected in the minutes. Now, what I don't know is if ACCA was hoping to get executed resolutions back to put into a database or to catalog or anything like that.
Terry, I listened to the webinar over the weekend. Sonny and Jabo Wagner and Terry was on the call, and Terry said we could modify them any way that we wanted to.
Sure.
Okay. And those were just.
And we gotta remember, we don't answer to the ACCA. We answer to the voters in Limestone County.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that that everybody understands that these will still be on the ballot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. It's just our recommendation, or and I can't recommend that we approve Amendment 4, or recommend to the people.
Can we amend the motion?
Well, we can go with, I say that
You
now,
can.
we have a
You get into
motion, and
several
let's get this
procedural
cleaned
steps.
up.
Okay.
We
All right.
have a motion and second to approve 3 and 4
Okay.
before the commission. So I'll call for the vote on that, then,
Yeah.
Pamela?
Commissioner Turner,
Nay.
Commissioner Black,
Nay.
Commissioner Hill,
No.
Commissioner Harrison.
Nay.
All right, that motion, now we cleaned that up.
Now, I'll make a motion that we strike the language for Amendment 4 that's in that resolution and approve resolution supporting Amendment 3.
We have a motion before the commission. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Now, I will ask for a motion to approve Amendment 4 for the resolution to support yeah.
Proposed constitutional.
Right. I'll ask once again for the motion to approve resolution in support of Amendment 4. And that motion, that request dies for lack of a motion. Moving on to the next thing, under resolutions ordered, I'll ask for a motion to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Family Life Center Incorporated to provide outpatient substance abuse treatment for adolescents in the JPO program provided by a grant from the Alabama Department of Youth Services. Do I hear a motion to approve such MOU?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Harrison. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Black,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item, I'll ask for a motion for the approved agreement with, how'd you say that, Mark?
I'm going with, I think I said I'm going with Synapsium, but
Is it
if anybody knows
Synapsium
different,
Fish?
that's,
Close enough.
all right.
With Synapsium
I'd
Virtual.
like to say synopsium.
I'm going home.
I said Synopsium, but I was corrected by our legal counsel at the organization.
He's from Ole Miss. What do you expect?
Agree with Synapsium. Virtual monitoring for 3 designated phone lines at the courthouse for primary and secondary fire alarm lines and an elevator emergency line for a period of 3 years in the amount of $24.99 per month per line. Do I hear a motion to approve such agreement?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harrison. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. There are no contracts, agreements, and grants to come before the commission. No budget revisions. No emergency purchases. No board appointments. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to award bid to American Paper and Twine for sanitary supplies at the county commission for the amount of 20% off catalog prices and I guess see attached list. I don't, y'all have that?
It's a list
It's
of
on
the.
that.
Okay.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Hill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harrison. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. At this time, we've been asked by the Sheriff's Department to delay the 2 personnel actions listed in Article 1 and 2. We'll honor that request, and I'll ask for a motion to approve corrected staffing plan for law enforcement.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Harrison. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? If There's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. There are no merit increases to come before the commission. At this time, we'll move to our engineer's report. Mr. Moss.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I have one item for you today. I would request approval here for this preliminary and final approval of Highland Village Phase 2. This is a minor subdivision located in District 3. It's basically cutting out one lot from this.
Thank you, sir. Do I hear a motion to approve this preliminary and final plat as presented by our engineer?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. In other business, I'll ask for a motion to approve the following change order for refurbishment of the Limestone County Archives in the amount of $17,404. This is 80-20 money, basically. The county will be asked for 20%, which would be roughly $3,480. I hear a motion to approve such change order.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Hill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, I'll ask for a motion to approve the following change order for bid number 2581, data infrastructure and audio system and wiring for the courthouse in the amount of $760. Do I hear a motion to approve such change order?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, approved to sell the following on Gov Deals. This is from recycling. It's a 1998 Dodge Ram truck. Do I hear a motion to sell such vehicle?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Turner. Do I have a second by Mr. Hill? Any discussion?
Pam, is it too late to add anything to be sold on Gov Deals? Do we need to wait and do it the next time?
You can suspend the rules and add it.
Yeah. If y'all agree to add it and take it up today, you can.
Well, it's,
You can go ahead and vote on this and then make a suspension of the rules to add.
Always
Another
got one
item to
troublemaker,
the-
man.
I'll wait till the next work session.
It's not it's not any trouble.
I'll wait till the next work
You
session.
wait.
I'll have one to put on the next one too.
All right, I'll wait till the next work session.
If there's no more discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. There are no scheduled public hearings. At this time, we'll move to the report of officers. Commissioner Hill.
But yes, on these amendments, I encourage everybody to look at them. I know I got a phone call, some of them about this Amendment 4, and I did run on a campaign for smaller government, and that's why I didn't speak out about it, but read these amendments and make sure you know what you're voting for. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Turner.
Have anything?
Really? We can do that if you like to. Commissioner Black.
My only thing was, since we had the discussion on Amendment 4, it really, if it's voted for, it doesn't affect us. If it's voted no, it really doesn't affect us because we'll still do our job and our business just like it's always been done. So it's sometimes you have frivolous things that you have to vote on or don't understand, and this is one of those you can read two different directions. So I'm glad we went the way we went.
Yeah, but we always won't be here. That's a good guy.
That's
We
it.
may not be always.
That's it.
Bite your tongue.
Yeah, I concur with Stanley. Go to the Secretary of State's website, and if you want to kind of get a discussion or see what that commission wrote about these amendments, go and read them. I would encourage all the constituents to go and read those and be informed before you vote on them. I think, I've always taken the term, when in doubt, vote no. But sometimes, I mean, there's some good things on those amendments that we need to pass. So, but this was one that I read and came to the conclusion we don't need to circumvent the will of the voters. We finished up Castile Lane. We used the manufactured sand on the third layer. We've learned something about that we can flow that manufactured sand through our chip sealer. It just has to be bone dry. I mean, part of the problem that we had when we did Anderson Road is that it had some moisture content in it, and it clumped up and didn't feed well. We also came to the conclusion that we are putting out too much rock on the roads, and we're going to hopefully get the chip sealer fixed over the winter time and hopefully get that taken care of. And we also finished up Allison Loop. We still have to do the final sweep on both of those roads, but those roads should be finished. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. All right, on Amendment 4, and I just got the talking points from ACCA. It says it does not grant home rule powers to county. It does not allow counties to levy taxes or fees, and it does not allow counties to create any programs that would infringe on the city's property rights. And then on the Secretary website, the ban says, I'm kind of like I think we all had the problem with, is it says it gives the counties the grant to act without the need for seeking approval from the majority of the voters. So this is kind of like what Jason said. It's kind of one of them. It's
right.
Which way is it? So
you have to do some research.
Right. So I think that was more. This was asked to do by the ACCA, of which we're a member and all that. But I think with them.
Yeah, and I'm on the legislative committee,
right.
And we talked about this at the time.
It's like
he was on that. I wondered.
It's like Commissioner Hill said too. You know, there's nobody on this commission that we don't want. You know, we're not going to do home rule. We're not going to go out and try to do
right.
anything. But we ain't going to be here forever. So I think we did the right thing today. And with that, we will recess to 10 a.m. on Wednesday, November 2nd of 2016 at the Washington Street Courthouse Annex, 310 West Washington Street. Y'all have a great week and roll tide.